Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. Thank you for coming out. Seems like our Tuesdays have been a little cold, a little snowy here the last few weeks, but thank you for coming out, and we'll get underway. We had the men's soccer team really play a couple of good matches last week. They got their first point against Montana State Billings in a tie, and then had a very tough match, and Luke is going to come up and give us the soccer update for Coach Berger. Luke, come on up.
Thank you, Tom. I'm filling in for Coach Berger. My name is Luke Schweitzer. I'm the assistant soccer coach here, and then I also help Brad Bloom with sports information duties. But this past week, we played Montana State Billings on Thursday night in a very good match. It was our first result on the season. We tied them 1-1. We went up 1-0 in the first half, which was first for us this season as well, to have the lead on an opponent this year. It was a good goal. It was scored from a throw-in, actually. Here we go. Blake Harris, our right back from Australia, throws it in to Andreas Scow, who flicks it on to our big 6'4" center forward. He's a target player for us. I was able to bring it down, control it, and on good instinct, be able to turn and shoot and beat the keeper. So that was a very good positive for us. And in the second half, we ended up giving up a goal to tie 1-1. And then after regulation, 90 minutes, still tied 1-1. So in soccer, we go into overtime, which is a 2 10-minute golden goal. First team to score wins the game. If after the end of both 10-minute overtimes, then you end in a tie, and that was our first point for the season, so positive for us. Then we rebounded back for a game on Saturday against Northwest Nazarene out of Nampa, Idaho, and very even match. We were going back and forth. It was a quality soccer match at the collegiate level that I would say could have gone either way. But then after a couple little mental breakdowns, gave up 2 goals, with the second goal coming after we had a red card. And what happened was one of our players had gotten a first yellow card in the first half, and after you get a second yellow card in a game, you get a red card. To suffer the consequences, he had to sit out the remainder of the game, and then he also has to sit out the following match. But we were able to continue to fight and compete with our 10 guys, but 11 versus 10 is never easy. But the progress we've made so far this year has been tremendous. It was actually really cool to hear a lot of our parents and some significant figures in the coaching world talk about the progress we've made from the beginning of the season till now. So that was good for Coach Berger and I to hear as coaches that we're on the right track for a good season and improving for next year. Other news is Gabe Domke, number 20 for us. He's a sophomore, actually earned a Scholar All-Conference player in the Great Northwest Athletic Conference. So very good for Gabe Domke to be able to earn those honors this year. And then we've got a couple guys up for All-Conference players, and we'll be waiting to hear the votes back for those guys. But this weekend will mark on Saturday our last game of the regular season and last game in our conference against the University of Mary on Saturday, November 9th at 6:30 p.m. So if you guys are around, please come support us for our last game of the year. Any questions?
Are you going to beat them?
On paper, it looks good. It will be a very even match. The game of soccer can be very fragile, and I have the utmost confidence in our boys to get our first win on the season. So on paper, I'll say yes.
Where do you get the referees?
Our referees most of them are local. We have an assigner here in Rapid City, and they are the ones who choose who our officials will be. We've also had some officials come and travel from Sioux Falls area who have been tremendous. And actually on Saturday night, we had a official from Rapid City who was tremendous, was able to keep up with the game. He was able to handle situations and deal and really talk to the guys on the field, which actually helps their play so they understand the kind of game the official is calling. So he was, I would say, a very good player's official.
What is the penalty? What gives you a yellow card and then a blue card? Is it violence or swearing or?
There's different infringements that constitute for a yellow card. It could be anything from dissent, so swearing, or even if you're just going at the official, it doesn't have to necessarily be to swear at him. But if the official feels that it's dissent, then that's a cautionable offense. A very hard challenge, kind of a malicious tackle, would also constitute as a yellow card, or anything that would be on purpose to try to take away from the game. If it's an intentional handball, that could possibly prevent a goal-scoring opportunity. But that would be one yellow card, and then if you get a second one, then you get your red card, and that sits you out for the rest of the game, and you play short.
Nothing happens with the first yellow card other than it's a warning?
Yes, that's exactly right. It's a warning as a yellow card. In the NCAA, though, you are in the regular season only allowed up to 5 yellow cards, and then you still must sit. So if you have 4 yellow cards and you get your 5th yellow card in a game, you would have to sit out the following match as a penalty for card accumulation.
That's a team penalty where you have to be short-handed?
We wouldn't actually be shorthanded, but if it's a player that makes significant impact to your program, and then And then part of the general manager hat that the coaches would have to wear is if it's an important game and you're trying to save a player and you have 4 yellow cards and maybe you sit a player during a game so that the following match you have them and you know for sure that you got that player. All right, thank you very much.
Joe, how did Luke handle that?
Fantastic.
Wasn't he great?
I was meeting with the Greek organizations trying to build an atmosphere for the basketball game on the 14th.
Why we love you, Joe.
That's why I was there.
Well, football certainly had an interesting season, and I was thinking coming back with the team the other day, 9 games, the team has won 5 of them, but in 6 of those 9 games, one team or the other has been in the 60s or greater. And that's an incredible statistic. I've never, ever seen that, but that's kind of the way college football is today. It's been going to a higher scoring game, and we have one game left, Nebraska-Kearney. It'll start at noon, Rapid City time. No, 11 o'clock Rapid City time. And 1040 is on the Hills 97.5. Stacy.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everybody, for coming out again. Obviously, had a tough one down there at Fort Hays. They're a very talented football team, and I think anytime you see that kind of speed on the field, it certainly jumped out at us on special teams. And me as a special teams coordinator, anytime you're working in that much space and that much speed, they got after us a couple times with a punt return and a kick return in that first half, which was too bad because I thought our defense played the best half of football they played all year against, I think, as talented as football team as we've played. So we went into halftime down 28-10 in the game. We probably had a lot of chances being down 14-10 and some opportunities on that. Second half got away from us a little bit. Weren't able to slow down their speed. They did a nice job with their piece, but we got a lot of young guys on the field. Certainly a learning experience to play a very high-end Division II football program. Great game day atmosphere, great facilities, and Fort Hays State's done a nice job, and they're only going to continue to get better. Brad, we got a couple cuts from this week's game. A couple of our touchdowns here on Saturday. The first one, this is Ben Broker. We use Ben a lot inside our red zone, and one thing that's been real solid with our offense all year is we've been able to put touchdowns on the board in the red zone. But we have a couple different quarterback run plays. They're not all quarterback run plays. It's really a read concept. So option football from a lot of different ways. But Ben Broker is a big kid, about 6'5", 230. Does a great job with the ball in his hand. Can still throw it. So he's a multifaceted weapon down there. But Ben's done a great job in these situations, getting into the end zone and putting points on the board. This next one here is another one of our play action Packers, Derek Graves done a great job all year long. Matches up extremely well with the talent we saw here. I thought he did a great job all day. He was banged up in the Dakota State game, left after the first couple offensive plays in the Tiffin game. So it's great to have Derek back. He's certainly a threat for us and can match up with anybody on the outside. And this last one is to Marshall Davis. Marshall's just done a tremendous job for us as a senior, very consistent receiver for us. He had some really big games here the last few weeks, and really excited to see him finish out his senior year. But this is a great catch, one-on-one coverage, and something Marshall's done his whole career here. So really excited to see him finish things off real strong at the end of his senior season. We play Nebraska Kearney this weekend down at their place. Like Tom said a little bit earlier, kickoff than normal. So we'll get down there. It'll be about a 3-hour shorter drive than as we headed down to Hayes. Very physical Nebraska Kearney team, similar to what they've been for a long time. I think they've upgraded their skill positions. When you look at Fort Hayes' conference schedule and look at Kearney, they're very similar. The first half of their season are loaded with top 10 teams that are very, very good. They've both got on a run these last few games. Nebraska Kearney had a tough one against Central Missouri, but if you look at Central Missouri's talent, they're a top 10, top 15 talent team. So it's a very good Nebraska Kearney team, very physical Nebraska Kearney team, and we're excited. We've got a chance still, with one more game on the board to try to close this thing out with a winning record, which would be a huge step in the right direction. What questions can I answer for you about the Fort Hayes game or the Nebraska Kearney game?
Those goalposts right there.
Mm-hmm.
Those on the side, those on the end.
Yeah, they play high school games there, so you see them every once in a while. They're movable. So had a high school game there the night before, so it was out wide, and they move them in. Different than hoops, Coach. They don't go 10 feet on some and 9-8 on others. I've watched Hoosiers. I know.
Stacy, offensively, we basically have moved the ball all season long. Some games not as well as others. Even Saturday, I thought we had 25, 26 first downs with maybe less than 20 field. But what about this offense do you like, and why has it been so productive? Because I thought it would be good, but school record for points, I mean, we're just moving the ball.
Well, I think three things. Number one starts with quarterback play. And if you look at college football and football in general, it's about quarterback play. We've gotten great play from Evan Sanders. We've gotten great play from Ben Broker. And the ability to package those two together has been very unique, and I give our offensive staff a ton of credit because that's not an easy thing to do. We've been able to run the football, and successful teams run the football. And everybody, even if you look at the Oregons and the Baylors and teams that are putting up points, people talk about them throwing the football, but really where their bread and butter is the ability to run the football. And the third phase of that, it's allowed us to open up our play-action pass game, and we've gotten a lot more production out of our receivers. So I think all those three things rolled into one has done exactly what you said. We've been able to move the football on everybody, and Missouri Southern, Fort Hays State, Tiffin, those are some very quality Division II defenses, and we need to keep that formula going and continue to fit those pieces in there because I've been real happy with what we've been able to do offensively. Yeah.
How many seniors are on the team and juniors in a breakdown like that? And then in a typical year, how many freshmen might you plan to bring into the program next
Sure.
fall?
Yeah, we have 10 seniors right now, so we'll lose 10 seniors at this point. We traveled 56 guys last week, so there was 10 seniors. Freshmen and sophomores, there was, 38 so forth. So we had eight juniors. We're still, with 10 seniors, that's not bad, but we're still a very young football team. Look at our last two recruiting classes where, we've played a lot of those guys. We've played a lot of true freshmen. So when you get on the field with some of these teams that are, have depth, have been able to build that program, you can see it show up. You can see it when we make a few mistakes in critical situations, and you're playing a true freshman at times against a senior. But we're continuing to trend. They're competing against high-level competition. They're not backing down. We'll try to bring in about 25 players a year, 25 to 30. Now that we've got a solid foundation, we'll be in that, around 80 players after our seniors are gone, that are still in the program, and so that allows us to stay in the range we want. So I think these first 2 years have been building that foundation, getting our depth. I think there was 47 players here when I got here in our first spring. So we've been able to build that foundation, and then you got to look at the quality of players also, and I think we've been able to recruit Division II quality student athletes that fit this institution that can play Division II football. The tough part is I want them to be ready yesterday, and it's a maturation process, but we're getting better, and you can see the strides, you can see it on the field, you can see it, when you're around them, and that's been a real positive piece. lot. Thanks.
I saw Jerry peek his head in a little while ago. Jerry Schaefer, our cross-country and track coach, they go down, have a big trip this week in the regionals. So we'll bring in Jerry here in a little bit. Let's skip the basketball previews now. And we'll start with the very first time we've been able to introduce the women's basketball coach here at the School of Mines, the new women's coach, I guess we can say, Ryan Larson. Ryan, come on up and give us a preview.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everyone, for showing up. Yeah, first time I was thinking that. I'm excited about this. Coach Collins, it's been fun watching you speak all year, but I'm happy to be up here now, okay? Really excited about this team. We are. They're working extremely hard. We asked this group to do a lot of things that they've never done in the past, as far as structured weights, conditioning, individual workouts. It's all been brand new to them, and they've really grasped it. And for the most part, I think they've enjoyed it, except for those 2 days of conditioning every week. You never enjoy that, but they tackled it head on, and they've really impressed me in those regards. Had a scrimmage a couple weeks ago down in western Nebraska against a really good junior college team. And that was good for us as far as game preparation goes, and just to work on a lot of different things as far as situations and whatnot. Competed really well, but made a number of mistakes that we continued to make last Friday when we went up to Dickinson and had an exhibition game. Kind of our Achilles heel right now is just pace of the game. We're really trying to push the tempo and get a lot more shots than what the opponents do, and we were able to do that against Dickinson. I've been joking with Coach Henry about that game up at exhibition at Dickinson, where if you had told me we were going to score 69 points, shoot a better percentage than the opposition, and get more shots, I would have bet you a lot of money we were going to win the game. Unfortunately, we didn't win the game because we turned it over a lot more than they did, and we put them at the free throw line 32 times. So when you have that combination, that's going to be very difficult to win a game. But to our credit, our kids they're getting better every day, and the nice thing about those mistakes is they're very fixable, and that's what this week is all about, is just learning to pass better, mainly feed the post, find open shooters when they're ready to shoot, and play defense without fouling. And it's funny, the early part of the season, these officials, they think they got to control the game, and they're whistle happy just because they haven't been out there a long time too, and so every chance they get, they blow the whistle. And about December, January, they get tired of that too. Coach Henry, you had 57 fouls, is that right? We were just short of that in a women's basketball game. That's a lot of fouls, but you got to adjust a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't continue throughout the year as far as putting opponents at the line 32 times. But something we got to learn, something we got to get better at. And our kids, they do have to play a little more physical, and that's something that takes a long time to teach. It really does. And Dixon State, to their credit, they were physical. This was their 4th game of the year, so they were game ready. They had a lot of game experience under their belt, and we weren't. So they were in the flow a little bit more. They were able to play a little more physical, and we just weren't able to. But hopefully that carries over to this week, where we play 2 legit Division II opponents in the Northern Sun. I know Minot State, they have everybody I've talked to, they have a Division I caliber post that we're going to have to find a way to shut down. Our post players, Renee Waters, Annie Soniker, Mackenzie Kenny, Devin Ashe, those kids are going to have their hands full against this kid. We'll find a way though. And then University of Mary, they played 3 really good exhibition games out in Utah. They played the University of Utah, Idaho State, and Westminster, and they lost all 3 exhibitions, but again, their game experience, they've had a few more games under their belt. So That'll be a tough challenge. It's a tough trip, but I know our kids are ready to play. Any questions?
How
Mike.
your freshmen been meshing with the rest of the team?
Real good. I've been impressed with Annie Soneker, namely, to name one of the two I've been really impressed with. That's a kid we're going to have to play. You talk about freshmen. Yeah, I remind the team of this a lot, that they're really all freshmen right now. Just because I said earlier, I've asked them to do so much than they've been asked to do in the past. Well, our system offensively and defensively, it's totally new. So every kid on the roster right now is learning stuff they've never been asked to do before. So they're all kind of freshmen, and just as far as the learning phase of what we want them to do offensively and defensively. But as far as true freshmen, Annie Soneker has really impressed me. She's an athletic post player that can really, really run and has good leaping ability and just can score in multiple ways. She's a pretty good shooter. I'm challenging her to shoot more from the perimeter as far as from the three-point line. She made one against Dickinson State. I think she kind of surprised herself a little bit, but that's something we've been asking her to do. I think those post players that are multi-dimensional, they're obviously really, really hard to guard. That's a kid that's going to just get better and better as we play her more. She gets more confidence. Good point, Tom. Sorry about that. Annie is number 11, right there in the middle in the back. Okay. She's been very impressive. Krista Showalter, number 20 in the bottom left right here. She is a point guard, and this kid plays with a tremendous tempo, the way we want to play basketball. She is really, really fast with the ball, and she's that kid that can see two passes ahead. She can make the pass that's going to lead to the pass for the basket. Basketball terms, they're calling it the hockey assist now. She really plays with a great pace, and that's a nice weapon. Both these kids are really nice weapons to come off the bench, where we don't drop off with these two from our starting guards to these two. And we got to find a way to play Krista and Alexis Long together a little bit more. We did that quite a bit at Dickinson, and that was probably one of our better lineups when those two are on the floor together, just because we're able to play faster. Again, we got more shots than Dickinson. That's a big goal of ours. Usually when you get more shots, you give yourself, obviously, a better chance to win. Yes?
Are all these girls active, or are they redshirted, and how many do you actually have on the team when you travel?
Well, I won't get too in-depth in that, but we're going to travel 10 this weekend. We've asked a couple to redshirt, and budget issues, we're just going to travel 10, because that's probably, I won't play any more than that, that's for sure. We've asked a couple of freshmen to redshirt, and they gladly did so just because they know there's players in front of them where they're just never going to see the court this year, and that's a good decision. They'll be able to stay behind, lift more, get stronger, get in the gym for more individual workouts and work on their games. So two of the freshmen will redshirt. Obviously, Janelle Strampy is still playing volleyball. She'll be back in a couple of weeks. She'll be a nice addition for us, as far as rebounding, another post presence, and just experience. At Dixon we started 4 sophomores and a senior, and Renee, didn't have a whole lot of game experience last year, so we are fairly young, especially on the experience side. We are very, very young, and that's what's really exciting about this group, because those young kids, they just tend to get, obviously, they get better and better with every practice and every game. Thank you.
Probably no one is more anxious to get up here right now than Jason Henry. Jason, come on up, preview the men's team.
I'm going to miss your jokes so bad that can't even imagine. Yeah, we're kind of in the same boat in a lot of different areas. It was our first game. We played in Dickinson. It was a real game for them. They were a couple games in our first game. And the one thing I didn't realize when we went and played is we have so many of our guys that, we talk about we have four seniors, we got 3 juniors, a lot of guys that have a lot of experience and all those kind of things. And then I got in the middle of to start the game, and Lance Kilburn, who's a young man that's going to be a very good player for us. He redshirted last year as a senior, and was excited to have him back, and I don't know, he led us in scoring, and he's just, a good player and all that kind of stuff. But his first shot, he takes about a 40-footer, and he's just not like that, and he just didn't have one pass. It was early in the possession. It's just one of the things that we really preach on good shots, and he understands. He's been in our program, yada, yada, yada. And he lets it go, and I kind of, I couldn't even yell at him because I was in shock that he even did it. But it was kind of funny because I started looking down the line, and I think we had 7 or 8 guys playing in that game that hadn't played for over a year and a half, or haven't been in our program before. So as old as we are, we really only had 3 guys that were playing at the end of the year last year, with Caleb Schockman, which was our post guy that started. He didn't play the second half of the year. Mike Dietz and Lance Kilborn redshirted last year as going to be seniors. And then we just had Kelvin Thomas, Lucas Nolan, and Philip Shanelak, basically guys playing, a bunch of minutes, and that was all that was even playing for us last year. So, I kind of had to take a step back and reevaluate kind of where we're at, and hopefully sooner than later they get into that flow. But I know they are excited to get on the floor. We do have 3 point guards this year that all new to our program, and kind of fighting for that playing time, that starting time, and that's kind of going to be how far we go this year is depending on our point guard. So it was good to get them out there, see where we're at. But having a bunch of these juniors and seniors that are back, we do need to get some experience and kind of get those jitters out, and hopefully they're gone after Dickinson. That all being said, we were up 15 points at halftime and played pretty well. We got some guys that got some talent on the team this year. It's just whether the chemistry and our schedule and all those things determine kind of wins and losses. But we are very excited about the guys we have in our program right now, and looking forward to the year. Going up to Minot, they played, it's kind of a goofy deal that the NCAA has, is they actually played in 3 games to start the year, the school year. So the first part of August, they went up to Canada and played 3 games. So they had a week of practice that they could do that, went and played 3 games, and now did the regular preseason, and then went into the regular season, had a couple exhibition games and stuff as well. So, they have some of that experience, but, they did well at the end of the year last year in the Northern Sun. They struggled early, had a new coach, a bunch of new guys, and then they beat a couple of top 10 teams in the country, and then on their home floor. So, we're going to have our hands full, there's no doubt about it. And then University of Mary, who finished the bottom half of the conference last year, from the people I've talked to and things, is they're as athletic as any team in the Northern Sun, which obviously anybody that's seen us play plenty is we're not the most athletic team out there. We use obviously our smarts in a lot of different ways, use some different things to make sure that we have an advantage, whether it's the chemistry on our team, guys playing as a team, that kind of stuff. But traditionally, and will be the case most games, every year this year, is we're not going to be the most athletic team there. So that's one of the things that we got to get prepared for. It's hard to go and prepare for those games when we're not doing it in practice. As far as having athletic guys, Coach Collins talks about this a lot, is you get some of those speed guys open in space and doing this and doing that, and it's tough. It's tough to simulate that in practice, and we don't have those guys. So hopefully by halftime of the Minot game, we kind of get our feet wet and understand what that different level of athleticism is, and our guys can handle that, and I know they will. It's just a matter of seeing it. So we're excited about this weekend. We're excited to get going. We do have a couple of injuries right off the bat, which isn't good. So I might have one of our post kids that won't be playing, that we're expecting to play a little bit of time, and then one of our guards that I don't know if he'll be playing, and it'll be a big loss for us if he's not for this weekend, but we'll probably have him back the rest of the year. So that's kind of the gist. We're going to do I want to run through our guys, hopefully even next week or the following week, or probably even next week, and just talk about that, because one of the questions is who's redshirting, who's doing this, and I still am not sure. I know I'm redshirting 2 guys as of right now. One of them that we talked about a lot in the spring, and then going forward to this year, was Connor Kulis. who led us in scoring. I think he averaged about 20 points a game the second half of the year last year, and he's been one of our top kids again this year in practices, and it's going to stink to not have him. But with Mike Dietz coming back, and he was basically our best player last year, and with redshirting and stuff, so they're kind of the same spot. So we have decided to redshirt Connor. He's wanted to redshirt, kind of like Coach Larson was saying, is when you redshirt guys, helps on the academic side, helps in getting stronger, helps in a lot of different areas. It's just tough when you go to practice and you see a pretty talented kid that you wish you could play. But believe me, last year I had 5 of them sitting on the bench, so I wouldn't say I got used to it, but it's something that we'd like to have. But Connor is, and then we're going to redshirt Troy White too, who led us in scoring a few games last year as well as a true freshman, and a lot of that has to do with Lance coming back and not playing last year because he redshirted too, and now being seniors. So. Plus, they're going to be here for 5 years with the academic side and hopefully get better and hopefully have a bright future in the near future, too. So those are the 2 guys. We're not sure what we're going to do for sure with our true freshmen. We got 2 other freshmen that we're planning on playing right now. So when we get to that point after this weekend, after tonight's practice, Wednesday practice, we're going to make those decisions and kind of go with them, and then I can kind of allude to that a little bit more with the guys and what our expectations are of them. But we're definitely counting on those 7 seniors right now. Our 7 seniors and juniors right now to carry the weight of it, and then a couple of the freshmen or a couple of new point guards coming in to play a lot of minutes. So that's kind of a quick rundown. Any questions for me? Yes.
I read somewhere that your schedule is ranked in the top something.
I don't know if it's ranked yet. That stuff hasn't, I don't know, maybe it has come out. I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to look at it. But we do. We play in our schedule. We have probably, in my mind, and I just know this is going to come out that way, but we'll have the top 5 toughest schedule in the country, if not the toughest schedule in the country. And that sounds cool, and it's maybe good for the fans and all that kind of stuff to see some of these top-level teams that come here and play us. But we're going to have a heck of a time. There's no doubt about it. And what I've told people is thank goodness we have the team that we have coming in this year so we can be competitive. In my mind, like I said, I have no idea if it's going to mean wins and a bunch of wins, a bunch of losses. I have no idea. Hopefully it's a bunch of wins, but I do know we'll be competitive and we're going to have a chance in all those games and not get beat by 40 points or 30 points night in and night out, which realistically could happen when we're playing some of these teams, and the teams that we're playing are going to do that to teams. The reason that's happened is not having a conference and an independent schedule. We play 8 different conferences, and out of those 8 conferences, we play 3/4 to 80% of our teams. They finished in the top half of their conference. And out of those 80%, a number of them, and I don't know it offhand here, but finished first or second and/or went to the national tournament last year. So obviously they lost a couple guys. They might not be as good as they were last year, but you have a program like that, and you play the Tarletons of the world, and the University of Arkansas Fort Smith that won their conference. You go out and play the GNAC schools. You play Colorado Mine. Just all those things that we're going to have our hands full. Our guys have known that. We knew our schedule going into the summer. That was on the back of our binders that we sent home with them, and understand here's the people that we're going to play. It's not just, we're playing a different level and we move up to Division II. We move up to Division II, and now we don't get to play the bottom half of the conference's teams because we're not in a conference right now. So it's a good and it's a bad thing. We get to travel. We get to do a lot of good things, but I'm nervous as all can be because you just never know how we're going to be competitive-wise and that kind of thing, but I like our chances, that's for sure, with the guys we have. Yes?
Jason, they said 57 fouls. I know that's partially rusty, but I've also been reading a lot of stuff about how they're going to tighten up hand checks and all of those things on defense. Is that going to impact as much as I read it?
Yes, and one of the things I read, and I'm not a big Twitter guy, but I'll check my Twitter stuff and all those kind of things, and it was funny the last couple of weeks when all these teams are playing preseason games and scrimmages and exhibition games, and they've taken like 2.5 hours for games and 3 hours for games, and just these comments that come across, and it's almost comical. Wow, we got to see it firsthand. And the NCAA has sent out their video to the officials is, let's stop all this bumping, let's stop all this hand check, and in other words, grabbing guys or, kind of forcing them different directions. And I know why they're doing it in some cases, but, it'll be interesting if they keep doing it. Like Coach Larson talked about is, they start it now because this is their focus, this is their emphasis. Will they continue to do it? Your guess is as good as mine. But I think that's a huge advantage for us because we'll run some of our offenses, and once again, we're not the most athletic team that's out there. In fact, we might not be as physical, we might not be this or that, but if a guy can hold us or direct us where they want to go, which is a fall, but it hasn't been called a fall, and we can do that, and we cut hard, and we understand that that's the rule, we will take advantage of it. There's no question about it. And just play. I mean, it's still a rule, but it's just never been called. But you're exactly right. Is there's games at the D1 level, especially the D2 level. But that all being said, we play, once again, in 8 different conferences. When we go up to Minot, I guarantee that's how it's called, because those officials just roughed our game. I've seen them ref on film already, and that's what they've been calling and seeing the stats. But then the next week we'll go to Texas, and the next week we'll go to Nebraska, then the next week, and I have no idea what they're going to do. So they might interpret the rule and take the direction a little bit different, but I think if they call it that way, it's going to be a huge advantage for us, just with the offenses that we run, if and only if we can make our stinking free throws. And we struggled with that in Dickinson as well. I don't even know what we ended up shooting, but we still won the game and only won by a couple. If we would have made our free throws, it would have been going away. So it'll be a big advantage. That all being said, too, we had 4 guys fall out too, so we got to be smart and we got to make sure we adjust and figure it out as we go too. So it's going to be interesting.
Did the whistles work both ways? Did the other team have a lot of fouls?
It did, but one of it was we had a lot more, I wouldn't say a lot more than them, but they had played with it for 3 games already, and we hadn't seen it at all, so we didn't know any better. And, we're very smart young men, but we didn't figure it out too. So we got to understand that it's a fall is a fall, and that's what they've been calling. If they're going to continue to call it, like I said, we just got to figure that out, and I know our guys will. But yeah, it was both ways. The night before, 3 nights before, I think the Wednesday night, they played Minot, and it was the same thing. I think there was like 70 falls called or something crazy. So they didn't figure it out, and then they kind of did for ours, and they still had a bunch called as well. So it's not very fun to watch, I'll tell you that. I mean, you're in the stand and just go, geez, I just want to watch these guys play. And it is. It gets kind of annoying, but if the players can figure it out, it might be the reason I think they're doing it. They want as much scoring as kind of like in football, that they take away, everything's basically a pass interference call. You bump a guy or do whatever. Well, you can't hit a guy, you can't do this. It's the same thing in basketball. Now you open it up and you can't guard how we're used to guarding. Now hopefully the scores become greater and it's more fun to watch. But to get to that point this whole year, it's going to be annoying. But it is what it is. So, anything else? All right, hopefully we're back here on Tuesday, and we're going to invite some basketball people, and hopefully have a good crowd. Thank you.
And we do want to wrap things up with a young athlete here at the School of Mines who's been a great runner in the cross-country team, just to talk about cross-country here for a couple of minutes. It's always fun to hear from the people who actually compete. So Tyler Nack, would you come up?
Oh, well, thanks, Tom. I just came in after practice, and I'm up here saying some words. So we just had our actually last speed workout this morning. We did some mile repeats at Founders Park. It was a time to just kind of get the gears turning. And this Saturday we race our longest event, but it's a championship race, the regional race down in Texas. So since Saturday, we've been in what we call peak week, and this is the time for you to peak fitness-wise and really get the legs turning and starting to feel good. Leading up to now, you really push the mileage and the fitness, and so now is a great time to start feeling good about yourself. And I think the team definitely has that feedback for Coach. Everybody's ready to go for the 10K this Saturday, and really looking forward to it. We travel Wednesday after practice, so we'll make part of the trip Wednesday night, finish up the drive on Thursday. We'll have an off day on Friday. That'll be a great time to really put the books away and get our minds prepared for the race. I know I'm definitely excited. I'm sure a lot of the guys are. Gauging off of the race in Billings, I'm projected to run 31:45 for a 10K. Right now, our 10K track record is 31:50. So that gets me really excited to know that I'm projected to run basically a school record 10K on a cross-country course, especially after the last week or two of, priming up the engine. So at this point, I'd like to open up the floor if anybody has questions.
You're running under 31, though, right?
The question from Coach Henry is if I was going to run under 31. And that would be great. I mean, we're looking at guys that are going to be running under 30. The D2 competition that we're going to see is the top 6 teams in the nation. And so definitely the top 5 guys from each of those teams will be going out, basically my mile PR in the first mile. And so definitely going to have to hang on to that for the first 2 miles. And then after that, it's time to settle in for the next 2 or 3 miles. And then after that, burning out the engine and really pushing for it. And, the trick is, well, my roommate, an alumni to the cross and track program, he says running's about not letting your body hear what your mind is saying. And so that's definitely going to come into play the last 2 miles of that race. So.
Does your strategy change? Your personal strategy?
Does the strategy change between an 8K and a 10K, or?
Yeah, how you start out, you try to keep up. What's your strategy?
Right. In a championship race like this, everybody's going to go out really fast and try to get the top few spots. So as a high mileage guy like myself, it's tough to get that speed in the first mile, because then you're trying to recover through the middle part of the race and you're fighting a lot more later. So it's going to be tough to hang out with those guys that are, that have that different race strategy, especially when you're fighting for a spot to qualify for nationals. And those guys, their mentality is to race as a pack and to race as a team. And so I really have to rely on my own teammates to drive me forward like that, because my race strategy would be to go out pretty conservative and then push, throughout the race and cut down and run faster throughout the race. So I'm going to have to, tell my teammates I need them up there with me and to hold my expectations to run fast like that. And so that's where the team aspect of a cross-country race comes in, is to travel, like a wolf pack and to keep each other moving forward. So, but definitely the strategy in a championship race like this is a lot tougher for a mileage guy like myself. Number 3 guy, Grant Cameron, he's a miler. He's a true miler guy, so he's got that speed. So he's gonna be loving the first 2 miles, but then he's gonna be fighting the last several miles. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Go ahead.
Coach talks a lot about pack time, and I'm guessing a race like this, where you want to see how you stack up with some of these other kids, my inclination would be the heck with the pack time, and you want to see where you're at, right?
Right.
So, which way do you go here? I mean, if you tell your team that you want them to push you, which is hurt your team, right? But,
Yeah.
So are we gonna go out for you, or are you gonna?
Yeah, the team pack time, that's an interesting dynamic. And, Coach has an expectation for myself as an individual. We also has an expectation for the team to hang on to myself. And that reflects back on practices like today when everybody else is going out hard with me in the 2 miles and the mile repeats. And I'm definitely going to push for it. And I expect, I'm going to tell you guys the day before the race, I expect you guys to have, the same expectation to run really well individually. And if everybody shifts forward, the pack time won't change between this race and previous races. And hopefully, our 5 and 6 guy, or 4, 5 and 6 guy, they have the race of their life and end up running with the 2, 3 guy. And then the pack time, gets increases. It's a tough dynamic, and that's even tougher for. It's still difficult for engineering students to wrap their head around, But the expectation is there that everybody's going to run the race of their life this Saturday, and if we're, if 4 and 5 have a great race, then our pack time will increase, or it will decrease. It'll get better. So, but that's a good point of topic. So. Anybody else? Well, I'd like to thank you for having me up here in short notice. Yep.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Come on, Tyler, you were preparing for a half hour out there, I know that. We'll let you go, we're running a little late today, but don't forget, if you haven't seen Rocker Soccer, Saturday night, 6:30 at the Sioux Park Complex against the University of Mary, and we'll see you back here next Tuesday. Thank you.